Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live 10-minute 2-Tip Tuesday. I'm your host, Amelia, occupational therapist, owner and founder of Higher Standards Caregiver Training, and I am really looking forward to sharing today's 2 tips with you today. Actually, just wrapped up a live training with one of my favorite organizations, and absolutely fabulous people, fabulous caregivers, and so today's 10-minute Tuesday was inspired by them and how awesome they are and some of the topics that came up at training today. So before we get started, though, you're about to get 2 tips in 10 minutes. The first is for caregivers and the second is for caregiving organizations. This information is for educational purposes, everyone. So if anything that I say reminds you of someone, some situation that you think needs to be assessed or addressed by a licensed healthcare provider, then please make sure you are advocating for that situation or person to be appropriately assessed by the appropriate provider, as this is not a substitute for health or medical advice and not a substitute for a therapeutic relationship. It's for education. Okay, so jumping right in, first tip for today. Now, this is always a hot topic in discussions, in live trainings, especially talking about agitation and aggression with folks who have dementia. And there are some key concepts that we want to be aware of in order to try to prevent situations from escalating, trying to keep people from becoming agitated, and keep people calm and happy. And one of the most important rules, though, that we want to remember, so this is tip number 1 for caregivers coming up right now. One of the most important things to remember is that when we remind people who have dementia that they're having a problem with their memory, that is something that can make them feel anxious, worried, agitated, upset, fearful, all kinds of things. So one of the things that we want to avoid doing is reminding people that they're having a problem with their memory or that they're having problems with their thinking or cognition. And I'll give you a really specific and common example of kind of what not to do and then what you can do in its place. So a lot of times, there's an underlying desire, of course, especially when we're caring for people that we love, when we're family caregivers, when we are, caring for people that we have personal relationships with. There's always an underlying desire to try to have the person that we love remember, right? We kind of have to fight that desire within ourselves, though, especially when we're family caregivers, in order to, kind of protect the emotional state of the person that we're caring for. So again, here, specific example. So it's really common to maybe have an old photo album or something like that you might be flipping through with someone. Maybe you're flipping through it with your mom or your dad or your grandma or grandpa or whoever it is that you're caring for. And, you're looking through a photo album and it's really, really, really common. Someone might say, "Hey, mom," or "Hey, dad," or whoever it is you're caring for, "Do you remember when we took this photo?" Or "Do you remember who that is?" Or, any phrase starting with "Do you remember?" And that can be a really triggering phrase when people can't remember because there's no amount of effort, unfortunately, that's going to allow the person that we care for, the person that we love, to be able to remember. It's unfortunately not necessarily within their capacity anymore. And even though it comes from such a good place and it's not intentional at all to try to make someone have anxiety about that, when we ask someone to remember and they're not capable of it, we make them more aware of the problem. And so that can lead to increased levels, again, of agitation, anxiety, frustration, even anger. So one of the most important rules to remember is, that we don't want to ask folks who have dementia to remember. Instead, here's something that you can do instead. Because that doesn't mean that we don't look through old photos. It doesn't mean that we don't surround that person with mementos and artifacts of their life. It doesn't mean that we take any of that away. We just maybe have to approach how we interact with those things and that person a little bit differently. So let's say we're sitting with the same picture album, we're flipping through the pictures together, but instead of saying, hey, Mom, do you remember when? Or do you remember who that is? Instead, let's say you see a picture of just it's a cute kid. Maybe it's you, whoever it is, cute kid in this photo. Instead of asking who that child is or if someone remembers the story behind the photo, instead, you can simply observe the photo itself. You could say, oh, what an adorable child. What a cute kid. It looks like they're having so much fun there. And instead of asking something of the person that you're with, of the person with dementia, instead, you are allowing them to simply also observe, and it allows them to join in a conversation that they can effectively take part in. They can still enjoy that photo. They can enjoy that interaction. It can actually be a really, really beautiful moment. And it can decrease that stress and anxiety. And instead of being something that maybe causes agitation or anger or frustration, it can be a moment that you can share together, just being there together in the present. So that's tip number 1 for today. Specifically thinking about avoiding agitation, frustration, and aggression is we want to avoid asking folks with dementia to remember. Okay, tip number 2 for caregiving organizations, food for thought. Food for thought. Do you make sure that you are valuing your caregivers' health, wellness, and safety just as much as you value the health, wellness, and safety of your clients? And I'm sure everyone out there does, right? Of course you value the health, welfare, and safety of your caregivers. They are the lifeblood of your organization. Without them, you wouldn't have a caregiving organization, right? So you have to care for them just as much as you care for your clients. But do they know that? How do you demonstrate that? How do you make sure that you are protecting their health, welfare, and safety, and that you're communicating that in an effective way so your caregivers know that you have their back? You know, obviously one of the ways that my clients do it is through providing training, certainly through providing live training. It's a great way to have that ongoing touch point to make sure that caregivers are feeling supported, that they're feeling safe, and that they're always getting that message that you as an organization have their back. Of course, there are other ways to do that too, but really thinking about, okay, of course I value the health, wellness, and safety of my caregivers just as much as clients. What am I doing to really, truly support that, to provide that, to let them know about it, and really to back that up with action? So maybe not such a direct tip, but some good food for thought, some good questions to ask yourself, and start developing a plan of action there. Because your caregivers need to feel cared for just as much as your clients do. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please make sure, if you did enjoy this, that whatever channel you're watching this on, that you are following, subscribing, liking, etc., so that you make sure and get updates for when the next 10-Minute 2-Tip Tuesday is released. It'll also be a great way for you to get updates on upcoming events and educational events that are going to be happening from Higher Standards Caregiver Training. Definitely coming up, putting together a series, a live expert hour for people to join in on, specifically talking about the most common questions and issues that come up when providing care for folks with dementia. So be on the lookout for announcements about that. As that develops and there are details, I will make sure and get those out to you. And 10-Minute Tuesday is always a place where I make those announcements. So make sure, like I said, you're subscribing, following, liking, whatever it is that you need to do so that you are getting updates on that information. And of course, so you're getting 2 super valuable tips every Tuesday. Until next time, guys, I hope everyone had a fabulous, healthy, happy Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving weekend. I hope everyone got to spend some wonderful time with friends, family, and people that they love. Until next Tuesday, Please stay healthy, stay well, and most of all, take care. Bye, y'all.